What's up, y'all? What's up? Hey, Ray, thank you for coming through, for already being here. Let me just check my system and we'll get started. I don't want to hold anybody up. Hold on. And all right, it's working. So I just got out of work, and so we're gonna do Twitter Dark to YouTube Dark. I'm about to present the Twitter. Let me load that up. I don't want to hold up the process at all. I was at work today, and I just like tried to run home and get this up. So we will be streaming Tucker Carlson's video. We will be streaming Tucker Carlson's video of Donald Trump, his interview. All right, so let me pull that up right now. I will try to look over at the debate. I wanted to stream the debate, but I can't because apparently Fox has made it illegal to stream to show any more than 3 minutes of their video. You know what I mean? So of their debate, which is insane. So hold on. Damn, they really full screen, which is totally insane. But all right, let me put this on right now. They copyrighted it, and I'm not gonna give Fox any type of oh God, I'm not gonna give Fox any type of credit or any attention or anything if they're doing things like that. So without further ado, here we go.
It's debate night, but we're not in Milwaukee.
Hey, Cindy.
Mr. President, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Why aren't you at the Fox News debate tonight in Milwaukee?
Well, a lot of people have been asking me that, and many people said you shouldn't do them, but you see the polls have come out, and I'm leading by 50 and 60 points. And, some of them are at 1 and 0 and 2. And I'm saying, do I sit there for an hour or two?
I will pause it like every 15 minutes. It's 46 minutes. So I'll pause every 15 minutes, kind of recap on like what he said. I'm taking notes.
2 hours, whatever it's going to be, and get harassed by people that shouldn't even be running for president. Should I be doing that? And a network that isn't particularly friendly.
I'm sorry, again, one more interruption. I just want to answer Pop's question. What's up, Pops? Thank you for coming through. Do you get more copyright claims from one news outlet from over another? Nah, it's not that. Fox News let people know. They put out a memo, and Chris Segal morning show in Philadelphia, he was talking about it, Chris Segal. They put out a memo saying, this is our footage, and no commentator can use it except for they can only use 3 minutes of the debate footage. Okay. And then they can only use it for like a couple months. And then after that, you can't go back to it. So I'm not going to give Fox any kind of play if they're acting like that with debate footage. This is a debate. Why would you do that? And they have like legal team and all that stuff. And Chris Segal was like, I'm almost about to not talk about it the next day. So I don't know what Fox's problem is, but it's okay. So that's why I'm going to stream this because Tucker doesn't give us a hard time.
To me, frankly, they were backing Ron DeSanctimonious like crazy, and now they've given up on him. I mean, it's a lost cause. It reminded me very much of 2016. In 2016, I went through the same stuff and had to fight them all the way, and then they became very friendly after I won, or just about when I was winning. But I just felt it would be more appropriate not to do the debate. I don't think it's right to do it. If you're leading by 50, 60, I have one problem leading by 70 points. And I'm saying, why am I doing it? And I'm going to have 8 people, 10 people, whoever made the debate. I don't know how many it is, but I'm going to have all these people screaming at me, shouting questions at me, all of which I love answering. I love doing, but it doesn't make sense to do them. So I've taken a pass, as you probably noticed.
Well, I did. I'm grateful that you did. It's interesting, though, because you spent a lot of your career in television.
Yeah.
You had a top show in television on NBC, but you don't feel the need now running for president to do television, obviously. Do you think television is declining?
Well, according to a poll that I guess we just saw, it just came out where it's down like 30, 35%, but I think they were referring to cable. I think cable's down because it's lost credibility. MSNBC, or as they say, MSDNC, is so bad. It's so wrong what they write and what they do and what they say. It's fake news, as I said. I think I came up with that term. I hope I did, because it's a good one. It's not tough enough anymore. It's corrupt news. You know, really what you do is call it corrupt news, but somehow that doesn't play as nicely. But it is corrupt news. So you have MSNBC and you have CNN, who's absolutely doing no ratings at all. I mean, they're dead. But they're doing none because they don't have credibility. They really don't have credibility. Fox is way down, as you know. And the good old days are long ago. I will say this, it could come back, but they just don't have a lot of credibility, Tucker. You know that perhaps better than anybody. I think it was a terrible move getting rid of you. You were number one on television, and all of a sudden we're doing this interview, but we'll get bigger ratings using this crazy forum that you're using than probably the debate or competition.
When you say there are people on stage who shouldn't be running for president, who do you mean?
Well, I don't want to really use names, but it wouldn't matter too much. A guy like, I call him Ada Hutchinson. It's Asa, but I call him Ada.
Why do you call him Ada?
I could tell you, but I don't want to get myself in a little trouble. But he's weak and pathetic, and he was, I never understood the guy, never knew him. He was the governor of Arkansas, not a very popular guy. I don't know how but that state is such a great state. The people are so incredible in that state, and they love me and I love them. How does this guy get elected governor of Arkansas? But he's nasty always and has been. A guy like Chris Christie, the guy left with a 8%, think of it, 8% approval rating in New Jersey. Now he's running for president. And he runs solely on the basis, oh, let's get Trump. He's like a savage maniac. He's like a lunatic. And that's all he talks about. His poll numbers are very, very low. He's about 2%.
What's he like? You know him well.
No, I've been friendly with him over the years, but I couldn't give him a job because I just never trusted him very much. I was just never one of his people that really trusted him. I never gave him the job. And that's one of the reasons he feels so hurt and so betrayed. And I understand that. I really do. I understand it. But I never gave him, he wanted to be different things. He was looking at different elements of the administration. And I decided I didn't want to do it. And now I'm glad I did because you see, but we had some great people. I had great people. We'll have even better people if we do this because now I know Washington. Before I didn't know Washington. But guys like Bill Barr were terrible. I mean, they were, I would say, Bushies. I say that with respect to the Bush family, but they were Bushies, and it doesn't work out for us.
It was clear, this is kind of far afield, but it was just interesting. I read Barr's account of his time. He wrote a book about it, right? His autobiography. And in it, he lies about Jeffrey Epstein's death. Clearly lies. Do you think Epstein killed himself sincerely?
I don't know. I will say that, he was a fixture in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
I don't know what Barr said about it either. I have no idea what he said. What did he say? He killed himself, probably?
He said he killed himself and that they were going to do this investigation. They never did the investigation. It's never been public. And they hid it. And why are they doing that? And clearly Barr knew. But why would Bill Barr be covering up the death of Jeffrey Epstein?
Bill Barr didn't do an investigation on the election fraud either, okay? He said he did, and he pretended he did, but he didn't. McSwain, the U.S. attorney in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, said Barr just wouldn't let him do it. It was crazy. Barr became so petrified, so frightened of being impeached. They were going to impeach him. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah.
It's not a big moment in history. But they said, we're going to impeach. They play a much rougher game, the left, the lunatics. And they were going to impeach Bill Barr, and he was petrified. Now, how do you not get impeached? Don't do any of this stuff. But he didn't do the job there. I don't know what he did with Epstein, but possibly he didn't.
Do you think it's possible that Epstein was killed?
Oh, sure, it's possible. I mean, I don't really believe. I think he probably committed suicide. He had a life with, beautiful homes and beautiful everything, and he all of a sudden he's incarcerated and not doing very well. I would say that he did, but there are those people. There are many people. I think you're one of them, right? But a lot of people think that he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
He was killed.
You think so?
I think the closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at all. I believe everything I hear. But yeah, the closer you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah,
and
he was.
Why?
He was certainly. It wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping, and the case could be made. Look, I'm not going to get involved in it, but I can tell you a case could be made either way, but it certainly wasn't the most well-run place.
So the reason I'm asking you is I'm looking at the trajectory since 2015 when you got into politics, for real, and then won. It started with protests against you, massive protests, organized protests by the left, and then it moved to impeachment twice,
right?
And now indictment. I mean, the next stage is violence. Are you worried that they're going to try and kill you? Why wouldn't they try and kill you? Honestly,
they're savage animals. They are people that are sick, really sick. You have great people in the Democrat Party. You have great people that are Democrats. Most of the people in our country are fantastic, and I'm representing everybody. I'm not just Republicans or conservative. I represent everybody. I'm the president of everybody. But I've seen what they do. I've seen the lengths that they go to when they make up the Russia. When that's exposed and they go down, and Barr should have gone after them, and other people should have gone after. And they did very late because the Durham report came out. It was fairly good. It could have been a lot tougher, I guess, but it was fairly good. But it explained how corrupt it was. I'll tell you who did a great job was the Inspector General Horowitz. He did a phenomenal report. You didn't have to go to Durham. He did it on Comey and on, I guess, McCabe and some others. And it was a vicious, it was basically a true report, how bad they are. But these people are sick people. These are people that I think they hate our country. You want to know the truth. When you see open borders, when you see these policies that they have, and so many other things, it's so sad to see. We have a country that's very fragile right now. I've never seen, I will say, look, I ran in 16, which was 15, but I ran in 16, election in 16, and there was tremendous spirit. In 20, there was even more spirit. We got millions and millions more votes. It wasn't even a contest. People said, well, what do you think of 20? I said, we did much better. We did. You got to base it on the number of votes. We got many more votes in 20 than we did in 16. But the election was rigged. It was a rigged election. And with COVID, they used COVID to cheat in a lot of different things. And we have so much on it. It's like so easy. But we had judges that didn't want to look. We had people didn't want to get involved. They called you, he's a conspiracy theorist if you say anything about the election. But I have never seen spirit like there is right now. Even coming down here, just the people on the road that are just absolutely going crazy. And the reason is, I think they like me, and I know they love my policies. I hope they like me too. A lot of people say they don't like me, but they like my policies. I think they like me. But I have never seen spirit like it is right now. And the reason is because crooked Joe Biden is so bad. He's the worst president in the history of our country. I don't think he's going to make it to the gate, but you never know. But he's a corrupt person, so corrupt that I took the name off Hillary. I don't do two people at one time. I took the crooked Hillary and I retired the name. That was a good day for her. I bet she was very happy. And I used it for Joe because it's crooked Joe. But Joe is really...
But you don't think he's going to make it to November of 2024?
Well, I think he's worse mentally than he is physically. And physically, he's not exactly a triathlete or any kind of an athlete. You look at him, he can't walk to the helicopter. He walks, he can't lift his feet out of the grass. It's only 2 inches at the White House, right? It's not a lot. But you watch him, and it looks like he's walking on toothpicks.
Okay. Hold on. To pause. I'm just gonna pause a little earlier than I said. I know I said 15 minutes, but it's like 11 minutes. But I'm sorry, because now I'm cracking up. Like, how he noticed that stuff? He doesn't lift his feet off the ground for real. He has a shuffled walk. It's like a Parkinson's walk. Joe Biden does. But I'm gonna just recap a few things. He's actually getting on my nerves right now because the question that Tucker Carlson asked him, do you think they're going to end you? And by the way, I don't know if I'm still going to be able to keep the stream up, but Tucker's talking about some crazy things and YouTube doesn't like it. But anyway, he still hasn't answered that question. Like, does he think they would end him? Just real quick, I'm going to answer. I got stuff coming through the chat. And I got my best friend sending me messages. So we'll just answer. I took crooked Hillary. Everybody's laughing at the walking on toothpicks. It does look like that. And to your question, him and Chris Christie were cool in real life, but then they're not cool anymore. So Pops, I know you said it's cowardice and irresponsible to not debate. My opinion. I get why. I just don't like it. I understand why you don't like it because it feels weird, right? It's like, why isn't he debating? It feels weird because I heard this months ago where he was like, I'm not going to do debates. And I was like, what does he mean? Like, he has to do debates because I was like, he has to do debates because the people they want to hear like what he has to say. And then there's a part of me that I know I play devil's advocate for him a lot, like where I'm like, I get it too, because he has something that they don't have. He has the report card. So, but I get what you're saying. And then Pops, you said you love that he gets to attack his former staff and never gets called out on being terrible at picking people. He was terrible at picking people. I just think that you don't know that until like you're in. We would be terrible at picking people. I feel like, before, of course, now we wouldn't be. But I don't want to make a bunch of excuses, but the one person that he had who was solid, they got rid of him in 2 months, General Mike Flynn. So how do you know who to pick when you're a businessman going president? Because I know me, nurse going president, I probably wouldn't know who to pick. I mean, today I probably walk in there and be like, everybody's fired and I just have to bring my own people. So I don't know. I just want to answer a few more questions. But I'm going to get to everything that's on the chat. Little Bullet, thank you for coming through. To get Joe Biden to an interview is like this. He would have to be hooked up to a dopamine and dextroamphetamine pump. But that's what they do to him. And it's starting to wear off. And we're going to talk about Joe Biden. We're going to talk about Joe Biden after this interview, because we're going to talk about Prigozhin and what happened with him and my theories on that situation with the Ukraine war. Johnny, thank you for coming through. Junior, thank you for coming through. Sorry. Politicians debate to introduce themselves to the voters. The voters already know Trump, been there, done that. Yeah, so that's why I did understand when he didn't debate. And Khadijah, to your clarification, him and Carlson, I will say this. I got to hand it to white people. You can't tell when they're not cool. Like, white folk know how to get along, and you can't tell that they don't like each other, because Tucker Carlson has been heard to say that he hates Trump. So I don't know, but you wouldn't be able to tell. So, so that's pretty good. All right, I'm going to hit the play button again.
And then you see him on the beach where he can't lift a chair. Those chairs are meant to be light, right? They're like 2 ounces. You lift them up. He can't lift the chair. He can't walk to the chair. And I don't know what they're doing with the beach. This beach is seeming to play a big role, but they love pictures of him on the beach. I think he looks terrible on the beach.
Skinny legs.
Well, he can't walk through the sand. Sand is not that easy to walk through, but when he walks through it, he can't walk through the sand. And there's somebody in there that thinks he looks fabulous at the beach. I think he looks horrible at the beach. Plus, the beach doesn't represent what a president's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be working. You're supposed to be getting us out of that horrible, horrible war that we're very much involved in with Russia and Ukraine. You could do that. You could do that very easily. I believe you could do that I don't believe he could do it because he's just incompetent. But that's a war that should end immediately, not because of one side or the other, because hundreds of thousands of people are being killed. Can you imagine you're in an apartment house and rockets are going into that building and blowing it up and knocking it down? And why should anybody, human beings, these are human, whether they're Russian or Ukrainian or whatever they are, it's got to be stopped. And it can be stopped very easily. It would have never started. If I were president, it would have never started.
So back to Biden, I'm interested. So you think he's failing? He obviously is failing. I think it's clear to everybody. But that would make Kamala Harris the candidate?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess they'd have maybe a free-for-all. A lot of people say she has to remain for certain reasons the candidate. She has to. I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think that other people would stand for it. She has some bad moments. Her moments are almost as bad as his. I think his are worse, actually.
Yeah.
But
she seems pretty senile, too.
She speaks in rhyme. It's weird. But she has bad moments. And
in rhyme? What do you?
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. And it's weird. The whole thing is weird. This is not a president of the United States future. And I think they probably have some kind of a primary and other people will get involved.
Newsom, right? I mean,
Could be. I mean, you know, I always got along well with him, believe it or not, but could be him, could be somebody else. He's got a big load on his shoulders because you look at California, what's happened. But I don't know if the American people really, the people that vote for him, I don't even know if they care. You know, you look at so many of the things that are going on and people don't seem to be, in the old days, if you had a bad record, it meant a lot. Today, if you have a bad record, it doesn't really mean anything. You know, he looks good. He's a nice looking guy, speaks well. But Biden, every time you watch him talking, it's like he's walking on eggs. You're waiting for him to collapse. And he almost always does. And I got to know the leaders of all of the countries, essentially, but the big ones. And the bigger, the tougher the leader. You know, it's like sort of, I guess maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. But I got to know President Xi of China and Putin and Kim Jong-un, North Korea. Did a great job with North Korea, kept us out of a nuclear war. We would have 40,000 dead soldiers right now. They'd drop a nuke right on top of the military base. But we have 40,000 soldiers over there. And I did great. I got along with him great. It's a good, that's a positive. You know, the press said, he said nice things about Kim Jong-un. I also said horrible things at the beginning. Horrible enough that he wanted to talk. And we talked and we met in Singapore. We met actually twice. And we had unbelievable meetings. I know him very well. We were in great shape with him.
What do you think he and Xi and Putin think of Biden?
I think they can't believe it. I think they probably say this is some kind of a system. You know, they had great respect.
Okay, so now I am going to play devil's advocate for other people, right? Real quick, I need Tucker to stop softballing. I need him to ask the hardcore questions. We are only in, we're not even in the 15-minute mark, but like we already know, like some of the questions, we've talked about this back in 2022. What does Xi think about Biden? We know everybody's laughing at Joe Biden, okay? So we can't keep talking about the same thing. It is getting on my nerves. It is.
Respect for our country. They respected me. They had great respect for our country when I was there. Every one of them. Look, if you go to North Korea, you take a look at what happened. You know, the Olympics was dead. South Korea spent billions on the Olympics. Nobody was going to go. They didn't want to get blown up. They called me and they said, we are going to let the Olympics proceed. This is North Korea. I said, you should go into the Olympics. Put your athletes in. It wasn't like, you know, they were big on athletes because, you know.
Famine.
But they went in and they actually participated. And within about 2 days, the entire thing was sold out. And if it wasn't me, that would have never happened. But I got along very well with him, and that's a positive thing. He does have massive nuclear power, by the way. And if Hillary would have gotten in, or if the Obama thought process continued, it would have been a nuclear war, absolutely, with North Korea. He was expecting to go into a war, and it would have been a nuclear war.
So do you think the rest of the world looks on at Biden and thinks someone else has got to be running the government?
Oh, come on, man.
Well, somebody else has to be. I don't think he's capable of doing anything. Look, when I debated him, I said, how come, and this was in front of probably not a friend of yours, Chris Wallace. He was the moderator.
Not a friend.
I said, why is it? He wants to be Mike, but he doesn't have the talent. It's one of those
bitchy little man.
He wanted to be his father, but he didn't have the talent of his father was great. His father,
little fussy man.
His father interviewed me in 60 Minutes. It was actually a 10. Can you believe it?
I totally. His father had talent, at least.
I may have been the only guy that he gave a good 60 Minutes to. He was rough.
Really?
His father was tough. He was great, though. He was great at what he did. But Chris Wallace was so upset. He was guarding this guy who wouldn't do a show, by the way. You know, he wouldn't do. I figured I didn't mind Chris Wallace because Biden wouldn't do a show. And it was very obvious. You know, he kept asking him and asking, but he wouldn't do the show. So I figured he's got to like me. But he came from a different planet. But remember when I asked the question, why is it that the mayor of Moscow's wife is allowed to give you $3.5 million? Don't forget, that was brought up. Now it's brought up all the time, but that was brought up by me long before anyone ever heard of it.
Yep.
I said, the mayor of Moscow's wife giving you $3.5 million. What did you do to deserve $3.5 million? To Biden. And Chris Wallace said, this has nothing to do with the debate. I mean, he fought.
He got in the way of the question.
No, well, it was crazy. And I said, well, wait a minute. He got $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. Now, people forget that, but if you go back and take a look, you will see. And Chris Wallace didn't want me to ask that question. I said, I think it's a very appropriate question. It turned out to be much more appropriate than people thought.
Amazing. So do you have a preference in, assuming you're the Republican nominee and all goes as you plan it to go, do you have a preference in who you run against?
In many ways, I'd love to run against him because his record's so bad. You know, it's still horrible when you look at inflation and everything else, but others also have very bad records. I mean, California's a bad record, so, you know, should it be Gavin or should it be somebody else? When I look at San Francisco, what's happened to that incredible city? That was one of the greatest cities in the world just a short while ago, and now it's very sad when you look at it. Los Angeles, every city practically, all the Democrat-run cities. You know, Republican-run cities are doing very nicely because they arrest people when you have crimes. And they don't go after political candidates because they think it's good. You know, I mean, it's like been amazing. My poll numbers are the highest I've ever had. But because people understand it.
Can I just ask you, that
Yes.
gets back to my original question. So if the protest didn't work, you got elected anyway.
Yeah.
Impeachment didn't work twice, obviously. Indictment is not working. Your poll numbers go up. When they raided Mar-a-Lago in August of last year, your numbers went up. They can indict you 20 times and you're not gonna lose the Republican primary because of that.
Well,
So,
it makes it look even more ridiculous. I mean, the 4 indictments, and maybe there'll be more. I don't know. These people are crazy.
But they're counterproductive. So if you chart it out, it's an escalation, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what's next after, try to put you in prison for the rest of your life? That's not working. So like, don't they have to kill you now?
I think the people of our country don't get enough credit for how smart they are. And I'm not sure I would have said this 10 years ago, but they get it. You know, they really get it. When somebody gets indicted, your poll numbers go down. When somebody gets indicted, you announce, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be leaving to spend time with my family and to fight for the rest of my life for this stuff. But you're out of politics. I got indicted 4 times. All trivia, nonsense, bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's horrible when you look and you look at what they're doing. The boxes hoax, I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to do exactly that. He's not covered, and he's got 25 times the number of boxes, and he's got them stored in Chinatown. He's got them stored in a flimsy garage underneath his Corvette at Penn. And by the way, at Penn, he gets millions of dollars. China pays this guy millions of dollars. See, I think he's the most corrupt president we've ever had. And he also has the distinction of being the most incompetent. And I believe both. I mean, he's both incompetent and corrupt.
So
and I actually believe he's compromised because China knows so much about him. They know where the money comes from. They know where it is, who paid it, and they probably paid it. Well, they do pay Penn, and he gets $1 million. I think it takes $999,000 because, keeps it a little bit under $1 million, like by $1. But he, in many ways, is a Manchurian candidate. We have a Manchurian candidate. And he's afraid to tell Russia to get out of Cuba. He's afraid to tell China to get out of Cuba. He's afraid. China now is building, think of this. China is building military installations in Cuba. The Cuban population of Miami is not too happy because they're never going to be able to go back. And you don't even hear about it. And the worst culprit is the press, the media, because normally, when I first heard that China is building installations in Cuba, and installations means military installations. Okay, they said just some communication. They did that on the islands with Japan. They took the island, they started this massive construction, and they told everybody, including the Japanese have to be very careful. They told everybody that this is a housing development. They're going to build a housing development. And I said, how come the runway is 20,000 feet long? Private jets need 4,000 feet. They don't need 20,000 feet. The big ones need 20,000 feet. They don't even need 20. And I looked at the runway. I said, that's the largest runway ever built, both in width and length, for housing development. There's nobody that has a plane that big that you would have a runway that's
Why is
for
China
testing.
allowed to conduct imperialism in our hemisphere?
Okay.
Well, yeah, and it's far beyond Cuba. It's all over South America.
Yeah, in the Caribbean.
So we built.
I'm going to I'm going to let, of course, Trump is going to answer that question. But Tucker Carlson sometimes, when he asks that question that way in our hemisphere, no. Listen, America had a chance to go to other countries and dominate, by giving them infrastructure and still stealing their, gold or whatever, American establishment. But instead, they just stole their stuff and gave them LGBTQIA plus, right? So when you have China that goes to another country, and listen, it's just the truth. It's just the inconvenient truth. They go to another country, a poor country, and they say, listen, we want your resources in the ground, but we're also going to fix your roads, and we're going to find a way to give you clean water or whatever, energy, something. So yeah, that country is going to be like, cool, whatever. So it's not the imperialism. I'm not making excuses for China. I'm just saying that they're better at doing what we were supposed to do.
A thing called the Panama Canal. We lost 35,000 people to the mosquito, malaria.
Yeah.
We lost 35,000 people we lost 35,000 people because of the mosquito. Vicious. They had to build under nets. It was one of the true great wonders of the world. As he said, one of the 9 wonders of the world. No, it was one of the 7. It happened a little while ago, It says 9 wonders of the world. You could make 9 wonders. He would have been better off if he stuck with the 9 and just said, yeah, I think it's 9. But this is one of the true 7 wonders of the world. And you take a look at the Panama Canal. It was such an incredible engineering marvel. We sold it under Jimmy Carter. We sold it to Panama for $1. The following day, they quadrupled the amount of money that ships had to pay to get across. They didn't lose one ship. And now they've made it much bigger, and now they've widened it. They've doubled it, right? They've more than doubled it. And it's one of the most profitable things. Any time it's just incredible, right? We gave it away for $1. China now controls it. They actually control the Panama Canal. They run it, they control it. And we shouldn't let that happen. And we can't let China be in Cuba. And they'll get out. If I'm president, they'll get out. Because I had a very good relationship with President Xi, but he respected this country. He respected me.
He is right.
And he'll get out. And we can't let them run the Panama Canal. We built the Panama Canal. Should have never been given to Panama. We should have had it. But we gave it for $1. Think of it. They quadrupled. In one day, they lifted the fees, which are, pretty big, for these massive ships to go through, right? Rather than going around the Cape and through all the tremendous storms, such beauty, it's beautiful stuff. But you didn't want to get caught in those storms. Those were storms that wiped out the biggest ships. And we go through the Panama Canal. We built it, and we gave it away for $1. Think of that. How stupid are we? We have done the stupidest things in this country. And now we have a president that can't put 2 sentences together, can't speak, can't walk, can't talk. I don't think he gets to the starting gate, but these people do miracles. I mean, he ran out of his basement, and you got away with that one because of COVID, so he sort of got away with it. They cheated on the election. But you have people that are very smart, but they're fascists and they're radical left lunatics, and they're destroying our country with the all-electric cars and the windmills all over the place, which, by the way, don't work, and they're most of them made in China. For the most part, they're made in China. Germany a little bit, but China. But you look at what's happening to our country, even no voter ID. I mean, why don't they want voter ID? There's only one reason they don't want voter ID, because they want to cheat. I mean, who doesn't want, the Democrat convention, the last one, they had voter ID that was this big. It looked like a prison card, this big on their chest. You walked in, they had your picture, your fingerprint. They had everything. The most incredible voter ID I've ever seen. That was to get into the Democrat National Convention. But to get in to vote, if you buy groceries, if you buy practically anything now, you have ID on a card, credit cards or otherwise.
But don't you think it's racist to have to show your ID?
Well, they probably say that. They use anything not to show ID, because voter ID is pretty simple. And we could go back, and we should go back to all paper ballots, voter ID, same-day voting. France did it. France had mail-in ballots, and it was terrible. Anytime you have mail-in ballots, you're going to have massive cheating on your elections. Anytime, but not just the presidential election. Anytime you have,
Isn't that the whole point of them?
yeah,
So you can
oh
cheat?
yeah, sure, it's the whole point. That's their whole point. They want to cheat. Yeah, they have to cheat because their policies are so bad that if they didn't cheat, they couldn't get elected. Who wants open borders? Who wants high taxes? Who wants high interest rates? Who wants to not be able to use a gas stove? Or have to drive an electric car, which, you know, you have a 4-hour drive, but the car only goes an hour and a half, so you have to charge it. The happiest moment for somebody in an electric car is the first 10 minutes. In other words, you get it charged, and now for 10 minutes. The unhappiest part is the next hour because you're petrified that you're not going to be found another charger. People, I'm saying if people, I'm not knocking electric cars, they're fine. They're fine. But if people want to buy a gasoline car or a hybrid, hybrids are pretty good actually, but they should be allowed to buy. They don't want to do any of this. So right now, California's in a big brownout because their grid is a disaster. The grid all over the country is sort of a disaster, but the grid in California. And yet they want to have in a very short period of time, millions and millions of cars going off that grid essentially. It doesn't work.
So plug your car into a grid that's failing.
You should be able to buy an electric car. You know, electric cars could be fine if you drive short distances and you want to have, you know, whatever, and you have plug-ins everywhere you go. They could be fine. But you got to have gasoline cars. You got to have everything. Let people buy everything. Now there's the new thing is your heating systems in the house. They don't want you to have a modern day heating system. They want you to use a heating system that will cost you at least $10,000 to buy and won't work very well. You know, none of the stuff works as well. One of the things I did with EPA is you have states, many states, most of the states have so much water, you know, it comes out of heaven, right? The water pours down and you have it. It's there. It's got to go wherever it goes, into the oceans, whatever. It's not like a big problem. Now, in some states, they have a problem. You know, you have some desert areas and all, and for that, it's okay. But they have sinks where no water comes out. You turn it on, no water comes out. No water comes out of the shower. No water is allowed to go into the washing machine for your dishes or for your clothing or what. And I avoided all of that.
Wait, they have sinks where no water comes out?
Sure, you have restrictors. When I say no water, very little water. You want to wash your hands, right?
Yeah.
And you've seen this, and you turn on the sink and it's very little. Or you want to wash your beautiful hair, right? And you're standing under a shower. Then the suds never go. If the water comes out very slowly. I'm sure you've seen this. It usually takes place in new hotels and new homes.
Yeah, you take a drill and take the
they have
limiter out.
Well, you can, but now they make it so you can't do that so easily. They have a restrictor. It's called a restrictor, and it restricts the water from coming out. So I ended all of that, and you have to see these. They let the water come out. You know what people do? They wash their hands like 5 times longer, or in the washing machine, they'll press for their, let's say the dishwasher, they'll press it. Then they'll press it about 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
They'll end up using more water, and it still won't be very good. I met with the head of Whirlpool. They were practically going out of business during my administration, and they said to me from Ohio, incredible, great state. I love Ohio. And they were really doing badly because people were dumping washing machines all over, mostly from South Korea, but also from China. And he was explaining it's just a terrible situation. I said, let me ask you, how's the quality? He says, we're better, but they are good enough quality. But, you know, of course he's going to say that, but, you know, they are better. He said, but they don't allow us. They're dumping these machines. They're cutting us in half. They're killing us. And on top of it, the government won't let us use water in our machines. I mean, he shows me like a quarter of a bottle of water. That's supposed to be washing clothing. And I freed it all up, and I put tariffs on these countries that were selling and the machines coming into the country. And that company went from all the washing machine companies, they make washing machines, they make dryers, they make all of the different machines that do this kind of work, including dishwashers. And they went from a disaster area to being just thriving.
But can I ask,
they love me in that part of Ohio.
Well, I bet they do, but why should EPA, no one at EPA was elected by anybody.
Yeah. Why
do they have the power to decide how much water your washing machine uses? Shouldn't Congress in a democracy get to vote on that?
Yeah, you could say that. They do things that are not very...
So how do you, that's my question. How do you, if you get elected again, go back to Washington, How do you keep the agencies under control? How do you keep FBI and CIA specifically under
That's
control?
a
The way you do it, like I fired Comey, that was a big deal. You know, a lot of people said, and I fired him very early. Somebody said, oh, I wish you would have fired him. There's a real question about firing him. Anyway, you understand, because, you know, when they have a 10-year term, there is a question. I fired Comey. That was a great thing. If I didn't fire Comey, maybe I wouldn't be talking to you, or I'd be talking to you about real estate or something else other than politics, right? That was a coup, in my opinion. That was a very sick deal. That was the insurance policy. You remember the insurance policy? Oh, she's going to win, darling. She's going to win. But just in case she doesn't, we have an insurance policy. An insurance policy was what they were doing. And we caught them with that. That was a very important tweet or whatever it was, text. It was a big deal. That was a big deal. The insurance policy. She's going to win 100 million to 1. That's not good odds. At least they gave me one, right? 100 million to 1. But just in case she doesn't win, we have an insurance policy. And everybody said, that's strange. That's strange. But we caught all that because I fired Comey. Because when I fired Comey, it was like throwing a rock into a hornet's nest, into a nest of bees, and the place went crazy.
So when you were president, are you confident that you knew everything, say, CIA was doing around the world?
No, I'm not. It's a very interesting group of people. I had very good relationships, I thought, but I was a little surprised when I got out that, you know, things go on. Look, it's...
What were you surprised by?
I was surprised. I think it's some of the people. I was surprised that there was... I had a group of people. Look, we killed many, using the CIA, I have to say this, very bad actors. We were very good at it. You look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, bigger than Osama bin Laden. I mean, Osama bin Laden is, but al-Baghdadi did ISIS, and he was rebuilding ISIS very strongly.
And that was the CIA that did that.
That was really us that did that.
Yeah.
That was really us that did that. And Soleimani was us that did that, not so much CIA. But we did some very good work with the CIA. What I started, you know, when I looked at the 51 intelligence agents saying that that was the laptop from hell was Russia disinformation, when I took a look at that, I said, that's a horrible thing. They knew it wasn't. They knew it was not. And by the way, you're talking about cheating on the election. McLaughlin and Fabrizio, great pollsters, they said a thing like that plus other things meant anywhere from 10 to 17% of the vote would change.
Whatever happened to Mike Pence? You've always been nice to Pence. I've never heard you criticize Pence. You've defended him in public many, many times. He's out there attacking you. What is that?
So Mike wants to run for president. You got to understand, in my opinion, Mike Pence had the absolute right to send the votes back to the legislatures. The Democrats and everybody said, you don't have the right. In other words, what I said, is he a human conveyor belt? You mean if he finds fraud in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in any of these states, Arizona, he has to send them to Mitch McConnell, right? That's right, sir. Well, if he finds fraud, he has to? Yes, sir. I said, so he's a conveyor belt. Boom, put him in. I said, I don't agree with that. And we had some lawyers, not all, we had some lawyers that said, no, you do have the right to send them back to the legislatures to be rechecked. Because if you looked at what went on in Wisconsin, who, by the way, now agree with me, Wisconsin has been virtually, other than the fact they're not allowed to do anything statutorily, but Wisconsin has been, I mean, what they found is incredible. I mean, we won Wisconsin. But Mike Pence had the right, in my opinion, to send them back.
Do you ever talk to him now?
No, I haven't spoken to him in a long time. I was very disappointed in him. I didn't want to do what Thomas Jefferson did. Thomas Jefferson, it was Georgia. And it was, hear ye, hear ye, the great state of Georgia is not capable or allowed to tabulate their votes. And Thomas Jefferson, who was the vice president, said, is Georgia sure that they cannot tabulate their votes? Georgia is sure. He didn't send them back and have them redo it. He said, we will keep the votes of the great state of Georgia for Thomas Jefferson and his president. I didn't ask him for that. Could have done that too, but I didn't. I thought that would be turmoil. I asked him to send them back to his legislature to the legislatures, you know, in Wisconsin, let's say.
But why didn't he? I mean, you'd worked together for 4 years. You're the president. He's VP. You say you're aligned on everything.
I think he got very bad advice. I really do. Now, let me tell you what happened. I sat there with a few people. I think his lawyer was in the room too. His lawyer was very much against it. There were other lawyers that felt you could do it. It was one of those things. I think you could have done it. I think you can always do something if you see fraud or if you see problems. But it's very interesting. So after the election was over, the rhinos got together with the Democrats and they redid the election, so you couldn't do it anymore. So then I called the people. I said, so in other words, you're saying I was right. You could do it. Yes, you could do it. In other words, they took the Voting Act and they redid it so the vice president no longer has the power to do what I said he could do. So when that happened, I said, wow. So, and you know, you'd look some of these Democrats in the eye and they say, he has absolutely no right to do it. And immediately after the election, they met rhinos, could name them all, and Democrats, and they approved legislation that takes away the right of the vice president to do it. So I said, so you're saying I was right. The vice president did have the right to do it. And they said, yes, he did.
So
I'm going to pause right here real quick to reiterate what he just said. I mean, some of this interview, I'm not going to lie to you, it is kind of boring me to death. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, maybe there's going to be a part 2. But right there, what he said is huge. You know, the right for the vice president to look at an election and see all of the confusion with it, right? We're not even going to go into even all of the semantics of mail-in ballots, even if you keep that out of it. The fact that we were lied to about Joe Biden and his dealings in Ukraine and China, a lot of people didn't know about that topic. And if they did know about that topic, a lot of people, the amount of people who would have changed their mind and voted for Trump would have definitely put Trump way above where we wouldn't even be discussing this right now, where we probably would all be going out, spending money, having a good time, you know, not concerned about too much. But anyway, we certainly wouldn't be worried about war or anything like that. So that is a big time election meddling that was done. Pennsylvania, we're still voting against. Every vote that we do is against our Constitution, you know, because we never changed the rules as a people to allow no excuse mail-in ballots. Okay. So all of the confusion that was happening, Mike Pence could have been like, you know what? It's a little too, it's a little too suspect, all of this stuff that's happening. And I'm not ready to certify this election. Like, I'm not ready to say that we can just go ahead with this. This wasn't like before. And by the way, when Trump was winning, they contested Trump's election win in 2016, and a lot of senators, they were like, we don't approve of this. They were trying to send the ballots back, the same thing that he was asking Mike Pence to do. They were trying to do it, but Biden kept saying like, no, like keep, just whatever, because they knew that he did not cheat, right? It's different here, and so the vice president had the right to say, we got to put a stop on this, right? But they took that right away from the vice president. So it makes me wonder, like, what is it about this man? You guys would rather take the right away from the vice president. You understand, by doing that, we're talking about, what about elections 50 years from now? And you guys switched it up. So there's no checks and balances. Forget Trump. We need checks and balances when it comes to elections, right? Because what are we going to do this forever? I'm not going to do this forever, though, by the way. I'm not.
So if you're saying they stole it from you last time, why wouldn't they do the same this time?
Oh, well, they'll try. They're going to be trying, yeah. And not only me, Look, DeSantis is out. I think he's gone. So he was at a level. People have figured him out. He's gone. But if somebody else got in, other than me, they'll go at him just as viciously as they did me. These people are sick. They will go after them. And a lot of people say they won't be able to hold up. I do get credit for holding up quite well, I must tell you. I think that's...
he does hold up so well that the Republican base is always giving him a hard time. Like, he needs to do this and he needs to do that. And we kind of forget that, like, every agency, is after him. So I'm just saying, because me, I'd be like, you know what, forget it, man. Just go ahead and go to some island, But I'm just saying.
How do you do that? How do you get indicted, every week and stay cheerful?
I think it's a lot easier because I'm so high in the polls, because it means the people get it. The people see it's a fraud. The people see it, like this horrible district attorney from just a little while ago, from essentially Atlanta, that's Fulton County. She said, basically, I don't have any right to challenge an election. Well, what about Stacey Abrams? What about Hillary Clinton? What about all of these Democrats that are still?
Yeah, because remember Stacey Abrams, she was delusional. She was like, no, I'm the governor. She was like, I know I'm the governor of Georgia. She was like trying to tout that for a little while.
Challenging my election. The same people that are saying he's challenging an election challenged my election. And they did it with slates. They did it with all sorts of things. They were very bad about it. But basically, they're suing me and they're saying, you don't have any right to challenge it. If you challenge an election, we're going to indict you and put you in jail. So what they're doing is they've weaponized, and don't kid yourself, the DOJ and Biden and the whole group, they're watching all of this stuff. They love the local stuff. The DA in Manhattan. Not only that, they put one of the DOJ top people into the Manhattan DA's office to run things. They don't even have a case against me. It's not even a case. Everyone says, even the Democrats say, you can't bring these cases. You have no case. The attorney general or the district attorney, Fannie Willis, in Atlanta, she's getting killed. Basically, she's saying Trump doesn't have the right to criticize an election. But you've been around long enough now. You've seen many elections criticized. I mean, Hillary Clinton goes crazy. Every time she talks, she says, he's not the president. Jimmy Carter said, he's not the president. Well, I am the president. Hillary Clinton called me, by the way, at 3:02 in the morning to congratulate me the night of the election.
Did her voice crack?
Well, her voice was, it's very different, I will say. I won't get into that. But
what do you mean?
Her voice was very different. Don't forget, they were all celebrating at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I came home and I said, I think we won. I felt we won because the rallies are so big. We'd go to Wisconsin and we'd go to Georgia. We'd go to different states. In Michigan, we'd have rallies. In Pennsylvania, we had 58,000 people in Butler. And I said, how are we losing this? How do you have a rally where you have from 50 to 100,000 people, many of them? I did 7 a day for a couple of days. That's a lot. That's a lot. These are big rallies too. And I didn't hold back. I didn't say, let's make them let's do abbreviations, right? But they challenged the stuff. Yeah. Hillary called me up and conceded. Now, the word is that Obama said you have to do that. But she called up and totally conceded. But now, every time you see her on television, she's saying she's challenging the election.
Do you think
so? That would mean that she should be indicted, but that would mean also that Stacey Abrams in Georgia should be indicted because she still thinks she won the election for governor. She still thinks that. She's never recanted. And
do you think Stacey Abrams will be indicted for that?
No, of course not. She won't be. The Democrats don't get indicted for things like that. They don't get impeached. No, it's a different thing. With that being said,
yes,
I had great support when they did impeachment hoax #1 and impeachment hoax #2. Jim Jordan, the House was fantastic. And actually the Senate was very good for me, other than, Mitch McConnell. I think it's too bad I endorsed him. He was begging, he was going to lose that race, and I endorsed him, and he ended up winning the race because of my endorsement. He was down, he was going to lose to Amy McGrath. She was $90 million in cash, all set to go. She was leading by 3. He was going down. I did him a favor, and then 3-4 months later, he really wanted to impeach me. He's a bad guy. But if you look at what's going on politically, so interesting. The level of loyalty is different in politics than it is in normal life, I will say. With that being said, I've had great loyalty also. But the House was fantastic. The Senate was very good. They overrode Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell, in my opinion, was trying to get senators to impeach me, especially for the second one. And on the first one, he acted very, very slow. He should have gone much faster. But Mitch McConnell wanted to, and the senators went up to guys that are subservient to him because he gives money. You know, he gives them money. He gives them a lot of money. He raises some money and he gives it to them, and therefore they do what he said. That's the only form of leadership he's got.
So last question. If you're elected president again, what's your number one priority? When you ran last time, you said, I will build a wall. This time, your bottom line top promise to the country.
So you can do numerous things at the same time.
Of course.
But let's say number one is a border and taking hundreds of thousands of criminals that have been allowed into our country and getting them out and bringing them back to their country, Guatemala. By the way, not only the 4 countries that we think of as neighbors, all over the world. Last month, we had 149 countries represented. Think of it. We had 149 countries represented, Tucker, from places that many people never even heard of, coming into our country. And they're coming in from mental institutions, and they're coming in from prisons. They're emptying out their prisons all over South America. They're emptying out their mental institutions. Terrorists are pouring into our country. We have no idea. I had the strongest border in the history of our country, and I built almost 500 miles of wall. You know, they like to say, oh, was it less? No, I built 500 miles. In fact, if you check with the authorities on the border, we built almost 500 miles of wall, and I had another 200 that I was going to build. You know, it's like water, it seeks. And we're going to build another 200. We built it. It was all set to go. All they had to do was install it. It would have taken 3 weeks. And that's when I found out. I said, I think these people actually want open borders. The first thing I would do would be I would seal up the border good and tight, except for people that want to come in legally.
Do you think we're moving towards civil war?
There's tremendous passion and there's tremendous love. You know, January 6th was a very interesting day because they don't report it properly. I believe it was the largest crowd I've ever spoken before. And you know some of the crowds I've spoken before. And like July 4th on the mall, I think they had 1 million people there. But I think that the biggest crowd I've ever spoken before was on January 6th. And people that were in that crowd, a very, very small group of people. And we said, patriotically and peacefully and patriotically, right? Nobody ever says that. Go peacefully and patriotically. But people that were in that crowd that day, very small group of people went down there. And then there are a lot of scenarios that we can talk about.
I was supposed to be there.
But people in that crowd said it was the most beautiful day they've ever experienced. There was love in that crowd. There was love and unity. I have never seen such spirit and such passion and such love. And I've also never seen simultaneously and from the same people such hatred of what they've done to our country.
So do you think it's possible that there's open conflict? We seem to be moving towards something.
I don't know because I don't know what it, you know, I can say this. There's a level of passion that I've never seen. There's a level of hatred that I've never seen. And that's probably a bad combination.
Donald Trump, thank you.
Thank you very
much.
Thank you.
That is a bad combination.
Bad combination.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not impressed at all. Like, you know, this is not what I expected. I don't know. I just feel like if you had like, so people are going to say the thing. They're going to say this was a softball interview. I know they're going to say that. They have every right to say it because it was like. It definitely was. I'm trying to see how many times I'm trying to see people's reaction, but this definitely was a softball interview. I can't go. I don't even have sorry, Christy, we should be caring about US children before Ukraine children. So Christy must be out here doing the same nonsense. All right, let's see if the debate is on YouTube. They're going to take this down. I'm not really thrilled about what we saw because it's the same questions all the time. Like I get it, right? Like that doesn't mean I'm not voting for Trump in the primary, but I do need you to ask him. Tucker should have asked, like, you know, why do you pick so many bad people? You picked a lot of bad people. Like, what was that about? And are you ready to say that you made those mistakes, or what are you going to do differently? Or, obviously somebody can't give you their whole blueprint on television, but I just feel like it could have been a lot better. I don't know. I definitely feel like it was softballed. I want to see if Fox News. I mean, let me see, because like you can't even find any information. Like, I'm trying to find I'm sorry, I don't want to say information. Sorry, please forgive the pausing that I'm doing, but you can't even find where Fox News is airing it. I don't have cable anymore because there was just no point for me to keep spending that kind of money. But okay, 7 minutes ago. Let's look at this. Vivek Ramaswamy. Oh yeah, no sweat, little bullet, no sweat. It was disappointing for sure. Yeah, like, come on, man. Right, Cindy? Listen, man, if you get Trump in front of me, I am gonna ask him some hardcore questions. Like, I am, like, what about these agencies, or, why did you pick certain people? How do you feel about the part of your, the Republican base that says that you can't win? Why do you think DeSantis decided to run against you? I'm going to ask him all the spicy takes, all the spicy questions, mostly because, like, Trump, to talk about the border with Donald Trump, to me, is like, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate it, everything he did with the border. But to talk about it with him, to me, it's like talking about, is water wet? We know you are strong on the border. So for me, I'm like, we don't need to talk about the same old thing over and over and over again, because we know your strengths. But I want to know other things. And then he kept circumventing around that question. I mean, I guess it's a hard question to ask. Like, do you think they're going to end you? I mean, who sits there and be like, yeah, they probably are thinking about it. But, you kind of have to say that. I mean, I think it's on the book. So I don't know. But let's see a clip from Fox News and see what happens. And they're going to probably copyright. Let's see what they did here.
The climate change agenda is They show that young people's #1 issue is climate change. How will you, as both President of the United States and leader of the Republican Party, calm their fears that the Republican Party doesn't care about climate change?
So we want to start on this with a show of hands. Do you believe in human behavior is causing climate change? Raise your hand if you do.
Look, we're not school children. Let's have the debate. I mean, I'm happy to take it to start. Alexander, so do you want to raise your hand or not? I don't think that's the way to do. So let me just say to Alexander this. First of all, one of the reasons our country's decline is because of the way the corporate media treats Republicans versus Democrats. Biden was on the beach while those people were suffering. He was asked about it. He said, no comment. Are you kidding me? As somebody that's handled disasters in Florida, you got to be activated. You've got to be there. You've got to be present. You got to be helping people who are doing this. And here's the deal.
Let's just answer the question.
So is that a yes or is that a yes? Is that a hand raise?
You do not.
I think it was a hand raise for him, and it's my hands are in my pockets.
No. I didn't raise a hand.
Let us be honest as Republicans. I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax. The climate change agenda is a hoax, and we have to declare independence for it. And the reality is, the anti-carbon agenda is the wet blanket on our economy. And so the reality is, more people are dying of bad climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
Governor Haley, are you bought and paid for?
Down by
Hold on.
in the last century.
Listen.
Let me find out who's watching the wrong thing, y'all.
I've had enough
Wait, oh my
already
gosh,
tonight
I thought I put it
of
on.
a guy
Okay,
who
right.
sounds like ChatGPT standing up here.
Yo.
And the last person in one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, what's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here, was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing on stage tonight.
Give me a hug just like you did to Obama.
Amateur.
And you'll help elect me just like you did to Obama, too. Give me that
The
bear
same
hug,
type of amateur.
Hold on. Governor Haley, would you like to respond? Are you bought and paid
what
for?
I would like to say is the fact that I think this is exactly why Margaret Thatcher said, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman.
Okay, get ready, Nikki Haley. Please stop clapping for that nonsense. Get rid of Nikki Haley. I don't need, because of that comment alone, I don't want a woman running anything like, because I got something to prove and I'm a woman and that's why a man can't get, like, that's a low blow. It's stupid. No, thank you.
First of all, we do care about clean air, clean water. We want to see that taken care of, but there's a right way to do it. And the right way to do it is, first of all, yes, is climate change real? Yes, it is. But if you want to go and really change the environment, then we need to start telling China and India that they have to lower their emissions. That's where our problem is. And these green subsidies that Biden has put in, all he's done is help China, because he doesn't understand all these electric vehicles that he's done, what that does. Half of the batteries for electric vehicles are made in China. And so that's not helping the environment. You're putting money in China's pocket, and Biden did that. So first of all, I think we need to acknowledge the truth, which is these subsidies are not working. We also need to take on the international world and say, okay, India and China, you've got to stop polluting. And that's when we'll start to deal with
Senator Scott, are you bought and paid for?
Absolutely.
Are you bought and paid for?
Sorry?
Are you bought and paid
Absolutely not. I mean,
I thought you
what the
said
American
absolutely.
people deserve is a debate about the issues that affect their lives. Going back and forth, being childish is not helpful to the American people to decide on the next leader of our country. Number one, wait a second. Number two, as a kid who grew up in a single-parent household mired in poverty, I wondered, was the American dream real for kids
Come on, man.
who are
He's still
devastated by poverty, devastated by the
story?
challenges of
All right.
life? I came to the conclusion that America can do for anyone what she's done for me if we focus on restoring hope, creating opportunities, and protecting America. If we want the environment to be better, and we all do, the best thing to do is to bring our jobs home from China. If we create 10 million new jobs in my Made in America plan, we will have a better economy and a better environment. Let me tell you why I say that, Brett. America,
Do it quickly.
America has cut. I'm a Southern boy, I talk slow. So America, that was quick. America has cut our carbon footprint in half in the last 25 years. The places where they are continuing to increase, Africa, 950 million people. India, over 1 billion. China, over 1 billion. Why would we put ourselves at a disadvantage, devastating our own economy? Let's bring our jobs home.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey,
All right, let's hold on.
Let me just tell you.
Why don't we go ahead and just really quickly analyze what just happened there to Vivek Ramaswamy? They basically just kind of called him a child. They're saying that they're trying to say like, you know, oh, you guys are bickering back and forth, and for him to say, you know, we'll for him to say, you know, I'm the only one over here who's not bought and paid for. It is kind of funny because I know he's thinking like, well, I got the balls to say it, but you heard the crowd? They were like, boo, like, because the crowd thinks that he's just a big farmer bro. Me, I look past that, man. Like, this guy's a 37-year-old millionaire / billionaire. Okay, so obviously he knows how to plan something. Now, again, I personally, like, of course I'm not voting for Vivek Ramaswamy, but what I'm saying is I don't look at him and be like, oh, well, he's a farmer bro. He's not, you know, he doesn't know what he's doing or so. To be 37 years old and you've conducted your life a certain way where you literally reached many of your goals that you set out. So he does know how to plan ahead, at least. And I love his foreign policy because it really is America first. But you know, they're not, and nobody's going to vote for him anyway. But I think his poll numbers are going to go down. And it looks like DeSantis might be actually be doing pretty good in this debate, you know. Let's look at this next clip, and then we do have to talk about Russia, but let's look at this clip.
Is that I'm a pro-life governor from a conservative state that have a conservative.
Okay, Asa Hutchinson also believes in trans kids. He believes that children have the right to mutilate themselves.
Record in which I lowered taxes in Arkansas as governor. I created a $2 billion surplus that I passed over to my successor, and I made sure that we shrunk the size of government. We have 14% fewer state employees in Arkansas after I left government than when I took over as governor 8 years ago. I tell that because that's what we need in Washington, D.C. We need somebody who can actually constrain the growth of the federal government, that can actually reduce the size, and I've pledged to reduce by 10% our federal non-defense workforce. That's a specific pledge to make that attacks the administrative state. And let me applaud some of the business partners that are here that have had success in business. But let me tell you, I've been a federal prosecutor. I've served our country in terms of being head of the DEA, in Homeland Security, in times of crisis. And while I think that that's experience that is important for the future of our country, to be the president of the United States that can lead with positive solutions and be held accountable.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Okay,
Hey, click
all
here
right,
to
and then, let me
subscribe
see.
to Fox.
Is this the one? Oh, no. That's the one from before. Hold on. I just want to see one more thing. See if I can get us another clip. Are they booing for Chris Christie? I hate that they do this. Videos. Hold on. You guys, give me 1 second, real quick. I'm coming outside. Wait a minute. Sorry. I know, like, mad people probably don't need the live. Hold on. Here I come. I'm sorry, guys. Never done that before in my life. Sorry. There's probably 3 people watching. All right. Let's look at this real quick clip of Chris Christie getting booed. This is really going to be copyrighted.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Former Vice President Mike Pence.
Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
South Carolina Senator Tim Scott.
Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson.
And North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
All right,
hey, click here to
Nikki
subscribe
Haley.
to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most.
Let's talk about abortion. And then we're gonna talk about what happened with abortion.
Abortion has been a losing issue for Republicans since the Dobbs decision. In 6 state referendums, all have upheld abortion rights in this country. And even in red states, there are more swing state referendums that are coming up as we head into the elections as well on this. So, Governor Haley, what do you say to your party and to your state, which today confirmed a 6-week abortion law as well, especially the impact on women suburban voters across this country?
Thank you, Martha. I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children. So I'm surrounded by blessings. Having said that, we need to stop demonizing this issue. This is talking about the fact that unelected justices didn't need to decide something this personal because it's personal for every woman and man. Now it's been put in the hands of the people. That's great. When it comes to a federal ban, let's be honest with the American people and say it will take 60 Senate votes. It will take a majority of the House. So in order to do that, let's find consensus. Can't we all agree that we should ban late-term abortions? Can't we all agree that we should encourage adoptions? Can't we all agree that doctors and nurses who don't believe in abortion shouldn't have to perform them? Can't we all agree that contraception should be available? And can't we all agree that we are not going to put a woman in jail or give her the death penalty if she gets an abortion? Let's treat this like a respectful issue that it is, and humanize the situation and stop demonizing the situation.
I'm going to come back to what she said. She did good with that. Let me just see this short.
Joe Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. Now is not the time for on-the-job training. We don't need to bring in a rookie. We don't need to bring in people without experience. We need to bring
That is hilarious. All right. You know, somebody said that about me before when I was running for Senate, and then people were like, when I was making my speech about, you know, who I am and all of this one guy, and everybody like clapped like really loud, and I forgot who the other guy was. He didn't even make it on the ballot, but he was like, you know, we don't need on-the-job training. I've been there. I've worked with Donald Trump. Like, that was everybody's speech too, by the way, that I was like running against. Most of them are like, I work with Trump. I know Trump. I did not say anything about Trump. I don't know that man. But yeah, we don't need on-the-job training. I started laughing too, like, okay. Okay. Yes, we do. You know what? Because we the people to run for these positions again. But anyway, let's get back into Twitter, and because we're going to start wrapping up. And Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley, she answered that abortion question very well. She explained it like, yeah, you can't do a national ban on abortion anymore anyway, because it's out of the federal government's hand. And that's where you for people who want to have all the abortions that they want to have in the world, they should be told that now, guess what? Republicans made it easier for you to do so. You can vote for it in your state now. You have all the power to slaughter all the babies you want to. But don't lie to me with the nonsense about, it's not a life. No, it's a life, okay? It's a life. But if you want to go slaughter a life, you do what you have to do. But anyway, people should be taught that. She answered that very correctly. And we do need to come from more of a loving standpoint, in the sense of like encouraging adoption, or telling these scared people, like, we need more pregnancy centers. And they're getting rid of them, actually, under Joe Biden, you know? So I thought she did pretty good. What is this question? Why would you pardon Trump?
Please raise your hand if you would.
Or that they would pardon Trump. Why wouldn't you? Ron DeSantis just raised his hand.
Just be clear.
Ron DeSantis is going
to late to the game there, but you raised your hand.
No, I'm doing this. Look.
Please raise your hand if you would.
Oh, y'all, did y'all see that snub? No, wait a minute. Let's do this. Chris Christie's only there for entertainment for me, okay? I am going to have to rewatch this thing and just holler and laugh at Chris Christie, because he's really only there for entertainment. I think he's hilarious. I do. Because he knows he's not going to win, so he's just being an asshole. I think it's funny.
And if you would.
Ron DeSantis is, yeah, all right. At least, okay. The only one who really means it is Vivek Ramaswamy, right? And then Asa Hutchins was like, I'm not even raising my hand. So I actually have more respect for Asa Hutchins than Ron DeSantis. By the way, Ron DeSantis looked around like, are they going to do it? Only if they do it, then I'm going to do it. Wow, okay. Why wouldn't you pardon Trump? This is lawfare. Like, you pardon Trump because this is lawfare. Okay, this is not Haiti. Okay, we're not supposed to act like this. Okay, all right. People think it's a game. The fact that we're having a nuanced conversation about what the federal government is doing to our elections at this current moment, the fact that we have a nuanced conversation about it is what lets me know, like, people think this is a game. Until you see destruction in another country that was done through banana republic style decisions, you will never understand how much this is not a game. You know, for these people who think this is a nuanced conversation. Okay. But Salty, I can't take it. Gotta give Christy a break. I couldn't lift his arm with a fork. He was just like, oh. He's like, I don't even like the yo, Chris Christie. I'm sorry. I think he's a riot. I think he's a good time. Let me see. Is this one even? Wait, hold on.
In an answer,
Cindy, I'm shout out to Billy for posting this 4 minutes ago. Killed the umpire thing. So
you sit here in an answer right. Hold on one second. You sit here in an answer.
Go ahead, Governor Christie.
Hold on, Governor Christie. Well, so listen, the more time we spend doing this, the less time they can talk about issues you want to talk about. So let's just get through this section.
Brett Baer is so boring. Y'all little debate is actually pretty fun because of the audience. And here you go. The more time y'all do this, the more time my face gets harder because my Botox is. I can't take it. And Vivek is cracking up. He is.
Here in an answer right. Hold on one second. You sit here in an answer.
Go ahead, Governor Christie.
And Chris Christie knows. He doesn't care. Let me tell you how much Chris Christie does not care. Chris Christie shut down the bridge. I lived in Jersey when this happened. He shut down the bridge for whatever reason. I forgot what reason it was. The Bridgegate scandal. I forgot whatever the reason was. He told the people, shut it down. And then fired the people for listening to him. I mean, this guy is just a mess. Like, I don't have hate for Chris Christie. I think he should be there. I think he's hilarious. Chris Christie, they were busting on him because I think he was like stealing cheese. No, he was bringing cheeseburgers. I forgot where he had cheeseburgers hidden or something. So then he went on like, was it Jay Leno or the other guy? I forgot his name. David Letterman, I think. And then they were like, oh, how you been? And he started pulling cheeseburgers out of his blazer. I think he's hilarious. Like, because I know he's not going anywhere. Politics has become a joke and clown show. I mean, I'm just going to enjoy it. Okay, Vivek Ramaswamy clowning on Ron DeSantis for not giving a straight answer about defunding Ukraine was one of the best moments of the life. Let's look at it. So we're basically doing Twitter together. That's basically what we're doing tonight. That's cool. Just show me. I'm crying here.
You're saying you would not too, Governor DeSantis?
I will have Europe pull their weight. Right now, they're not doing that.
Would not support
and I think
more
we need
funds?
to do, and I think our support should be contingent on them doing it. And I would have support in China to be able to take China and do what we need to do with China.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you would not support an increase of funding to Ukraine?
I would not. And I think that this is disastrous. That we are protected against an invasion across somebody else's border when we should use those same military resources to prevent across the invasion of our own southern border here in the United States of America. We are driving Russia further into China's hands. The Russia-China alliance is the single greatest threat we face. And I find it offensive that we have professional politicians on the stage that will make a pilgrimage to Kyiv, to their Pope, Zelensky, without doing the same thing for people in Maui or the south side of Chicago or Kensington. I think that we have to put the interests of Americans first.
No. Vivek is bringing the culture, okay? And they're trying to shut him up because he's too spicy. Now I want y'all to listen to y'all neocon again, okay? This is the guy that I'm supposed to believe is going to drink. Okay, all right.
You're saying you would not too, Governor DeSantis?
I will have Europe pull their weight. Right now, they're not doing that.
Would not support
and I think
more
we
funds?
need to do, and I think our support should be contingent on them doing it. And I would have support in China to be able to take China and do what we need to do with China.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you would not support an
This is funny because Ron DeSantis can't take it. He doesn't know how to like bust back. Like he doesn't know how to give like Josh around, I guess, you know, as he's looking at Vivek with total like emotion. Like, no, he didn't. Vivek has every right to come for him. You know, he's answering the question exactly like I expected. I like Vivek. I do. I like his energy. I do. You know, I'm not looking for Vivek to lead me. I'm not looking for Donald Trump to lead me, because here's the words. When people say, "Oh, you want Donald Trump to lead you or Vivek to," no. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. God leads me. But you know, Donald Trump has amazing policies. Vivek has those policies too, but you know, he still needs more experience as far as what comes with running a country, but his connection with people, it's perfect. He's young, he's energetic. I would love to see him in the Trump administration, like Kash Patel. Kash Patel is the truth, and he was on Trump's DOJ, and it's because of Kash Patel we know a lot about this Russia stuff, you know. Shout out to Vivek Ramaswamy. He actually made me like most of these politicians aren't running for president, they're running for MSNBC and other book sales. I mean, look, it is you know, I already know where I'm going. Honestly, there's almost nothing said about China unless Ramaswamy forced it. Fox moderators haven't said a word. RNC debate. That's Chris Segal saying that. You see what I mean? You know, Vivek's foreign policy is on point. All right. I thought Vivek was going. I didn't watch. Vivek is trending, y'all. He's number one, y'all. He is trending. Let's see. And then he reposted it. I reject the consensus that winning in Ukraine is vital. Is a vital. Okay, now first of all, we know that his assistants posted this. Okay, but I reject the consensus that winning in Ukraine is a vital U.S. interest. Nearly the entire GOP field rails against Biden, but cut through the grandstanding, and it turns out there's solidly with him on the most important foreign policy issue of our time, America First 2.0. Yeah, for real, like, yeah. Shout out to Vivek. Vivek is absolutely obliterating the establishment GOP. The debate is over and not even close. He managed to praise Trump and own Christie in one sentence. Let's see what else he said. This is fun.
Please raise your hand if you would.
President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century. It's a fact.
He's not wrong.
Kristen, honest to God, your claim that Donald Trump is motivated by vengeance and grievance would be a lot more credible if your entire campaign were not based on vengeance and grievance against one man.
Chris Bishop, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I'll be here for the buddy. Yeah.
Want to see a bunch of people blindly bashing Donald Trump without an iota of vision for this country? They could just change the channel to MSNBC right now. But I'm not running for president of MSNBC. I am running for president of the United States. We're skating on thin ice, and we cannot set a precedent where the party in power uses police force to indict its political opponents. It's wrong. We have to end the weaponization of justice in this country.
30 seconds, Governor.
You know, let me tell you,
I'm sorry. 30 seconds, Governor.
You make me laugh because you sit here in an answer. You sit here in an answer right.
No, okay, so that was when he was trying to come from. Hold on, let me retweet this, y'all. Vivek is on fire. My computer can't even take what I'm doing right now. So, okay. All right, let's get in. I can't help it. What's up, Bozette? I'd rather see Vivek run in 2028. Me too. Absolutely, me too. For sure. For sure. Don't give me no DeSantis in 2028. The guy wants to fund Ukraine. And then, okay, we already talked about it. All right. Vivek is Dang, I thought Ron DeSantis was gonna take over. I was like, all right, Trump didn't come to the thing, so Ron DeSantis is definitely gonna take over. And it turns out that Vivek is the one taking over. Wow.
Specifics of that plan. Is there anyone on stage who would not support the increase of more funding to Ukraine?
We would not support it.
Europe needs to step up.
Wow. Yeah, somebody tell Ron DeSantis that's enough. All right, let it go. Okay, absolutely not. We cannot do this with another neocon. We cannot. We are on the brink of World War III, and we have no resources. Okay, Iran, it's getting hot over there with Iran because we keep sending our helicopters and all kinds of things, over their territory, and they're like, we have a right to shoot this down, and if y'all don't get out of here, we will. Syria, we're overextended for things that don't matter to us, and then the people of this country are suffering, and this fool can't understand that we need to. All right, fine, have your Israel, right? You want to keep sending money to Ukraine? Okay. Bozette, we felt the same way about the Trump interview because we watched it here and it was just like kind of lackluster. But I don't have cable, so that's why I'm trying to pick up these little clips right now. Let me see.
You bring Fauci in, you sit him down, and you say, Anthony, you are fired.
You're a bad boy, Anthony.
You know what? We're going to bring in.
I just want to respond to Mike for 1 second because he invoked me back. Listen, now that everybody's gotten their memorized, prepared slogans out of the way, we can actually have a real discussion now. The reality and the fact that
Jake doesn't play. He doesn't. And then, Ron DeSantis, you certainly would have fired Fauci, although you seem to go with everything establishment. Listen, I don't like Anthony Fauci at all. Guess what? I didn't know who he was until 2020. As in, nobody knew that this man was that corrupt. As in, anybody who was president was going to listen to their top medical advisor. Donald Trump is not even a nurse. He's not even a medical assistant, right? He has no choice but to listen to the top medical advisor. Okay. Bozette says she got rid of her cable box 7 years ago. I think I saw all the BS woke media started. Yeah, I know. Once they took Tucker off for the 8 p.m. I said, all right, man, I'm not watching this thing. So, somebody's saying that Vivek is plagiarizing Barack Obama.
Who the heck is this skinny guy with a funny last name, and what the heck is he doing in the middle of this debate stage?
Of a skinny kid with a funny name.
Listen, now that everybody's gotten their memorized, prepared slogans out of the way, we can actually have a real discussion now. Who the heck is this skinny guy with
he said something about me. Man, I don't care, man. If that's the best you could come up with on Vivek, let's see what Crowder is saying.
Anyone on stage who would not support
Can I chime in on this?
The increase of more funding to Ukraine?
Pence.
We would not support it.
Europe needs to step.
Swami, you would not support an increase of funding to Ukraine.
I would not. And I think that this is disastrous.
There you go. Good.
He's kicking ass.
Good. Point that finger.
Somebody else's border when we should use those same military resources to prevent across the invasion of our own southern border here in the United States of America.
Vivek is pretty good, y'all. Bravely spoken, considering he's already gone. Who are you talking about, Salty? Yeah, man. Like Vivek, wow, that's crazy. Vivek really did their thing. He did his thing, man. Look, Vivek has energy, yo. That's what's up. Jack Poso breaking. Vivek torches Republicans for going to Kiev instead. Remember when you couldn't say Kiev? It's Kiev. It's Kiev. Anyway, instead of going to places where Americans are suffering and put Americans first. And then Vivek said Kensington. Damn. Listen, I want him somewhere in the administration. I know somebody is coping and seething about this Vivek thing. Matter of fact, I know exactly who's coping and saying, hold on. Maybe you know what? No, maybe not. Vivek just defended President Trump the way he deserved to be defended. Political persecution cannot be tolerated. It's just that simple. You don't have to like him, but it's political persecution. This is what the GOP would sound like without Trump. Be careful what you wish for. The muscle memory of the old Republican Party is strong. Yeah. Neocons, warmongers, boring. This is a branding disaster, save for Vivek. Yeah. 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 But here goes to my... This is the DNC email about the debate. They're enraged that Vivek wants to end the war in Ukraine on peaceful terms. How is this any different than neocons? Yep. They told some Vivek Ramaswamy wants to reward Putin for invading Ukraine. Why? Because we don't want to spend our money in Ukraine anymore? Yo, what is this? No, I know what it is, okay? There is a spiritual connection to Ukraine, the pagan temple in Kazakhstan, all like that whole area, man. They won't let it go. And I said this, I've been saying this, like, even because when I watch Duran, and trust me, their analytics are superb. But sometimes they're like, maybe, they're trying to talk about peace. But the fact is, when they say that, I'm like, they're not going to let Ukraine go. They will burn down America for Ukraine. And that is not an overstatement. Vivek told the candidates on stage, and I gotta hand it to Jack. It is pretty good. Yeah, so yeah, Vivek killed it. All right, Vivek is the only one on stage who said he would not support an increase in funding to Ukraine. The only candidate, the only one not bought and paid for. He is. Sorry, like people. Oh, you guys believe this fraud just because he says whatever. Well, so maybe I do. I don't know what to tell you. But he sounds good. I like his energy. I just want to see if this guy's seething. Okay, so it's similar. So what? Ever heard of it? Yeah, right, Bozette. Exactly. So what? Who cares? Like these people. How much time did Tucker Carlson spend grilling Trump on COVID stuff? We already know that he didn't. This guy, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley are the new Republican Mike Pence that Trump will probably hire. Yo, man, it's weird. Like I do it, like Lindsey Graham. Let's see. I'm convinced the Union Party wants to sacrifice America for their own. You're better off completely ignoring politics at this point. This kid is going through it. The left is insane and wants to subvert your children. The right created a really weird religion around Donald Trump. Everybody else is talking about Vivek, and he's talking about Donald Trump. I thought he would have said something at least about Vivek. This guy. Chris Christie says Vivek Ramaswamy sounds like ChatGPT. I invented that nickname for him. It's being used by many. I'm a trendsetter. No, you're a hater. I'm sorry. And I usually don't say stuff like that, but Vivek Ramaswamy is I know. I keep bringing up the money thing, right? To be 37 and have achieved millionaire status, possibly billionaire, that does not take like a fake type of superficial personality. You have to have some sort of drive. There has to be something about you to achieve that. I'm inspired. I am, like who people are proud about. Like it's just weird, man. Y'all are just weird. Like y'all are weird. When the media screams that Trump will destroy democracy and Trump and Team Trump screams that media is the enemy of the people, remember it's all fake. Everybody. Christina Prashad is feeling some type of way too. She got fired. So, and he's making jokes about this picture of Sidney Powell. Meanwhile, the country is in lawfare. Let me get away from this. All right, let me go back to Prigozhin. But my thing is this: jealousy is something else. And yes, I think that there are certain people who are jealous of Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm just saying. There's no religion around Trump. What poor choice of words. Patriotism isn't a religion. Exactly. So Bozette, that is Anomaly. And I normally like the stuff that Anomaly talks about. I really do. But Anomaly, I don't know what happened. There's a Trump derangement syndrome that happened on the right that a lot of people really don't talk about. I mean, I've heard DeSantis supporters talk about Donald Trump like they can't wait for him to go to jail. Not all of them, but I've heard some of them say that. You got Bill Michelli, whatever. He's on Twitter. And let me show you the kind of tweets he did so we can wrap up this political thing because I need to talk about what happened today to Prigozhin, Yevgeny Prigozhin, It has to be talked about. This guy right here is an absolute crook. Like he's slimy. Okay, let me not call him a crook, okay, because I don't know his financial statuses and stuff. But he is just a mess. I'm going to show you because I know he was tweeting all day. Matter of fact, no, I got a better one. Well, no. Hold on. We know Vivek has some Trump supporters in the audience cheering for him. Vivek has some seriously white. Oh, you're such a hater. All right. Hold on. Because I want you guys to see the type of stuff he's been saying lately about Donald Trump. And it's like, it's never that serious in politics. I don't know how much they're paying you, but it's not. Ay. Hold on. I mean, this guy, he tweets about Trump all day long. I'm like, man, it's kind of weird. Oh, yeah, look, I'm sorry. Trump does not look well. Mind you, Trump lost weight. He wants Trump to have a heart problem, and I'm not lying. He made this other comment. Trump needs to quit the race. He can't win, and he's ripping his man, bye, boy. Hold on. I'm like really chilling talking to y'all, like if I'm on the phone, because for real, like I worked all day and I was like, let me just turn this on, let me do this, because I did want to bring that interview to you guys, even though I thought it was very lackluster. I'm not gonna pretend like it wasn't. It definitely was lackluster, and I kind of wish that Trump did just go to the debate, because it was just boring. It was that interview was boring, and everybody's gonna say it was, except hold on. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to find, to sit there and tweet about a person all day long like that. Anyway, he was saying that Trump looks like he has heart problems. Trump, he needs to step out the race. He's not healthy enough. Something bad can happen to him. And trying to say like, oh, we know he has heart problems and he looks like he's in CHF. And I'm like, yo, dog, like, it's weird now. You're wishing blood clots on this man or something? Like, what's going on? Like, it's not that deep. I can't find it. The guy tweets about Trump all day long, but he must get paid to do it. He says some of the most sickest things. I have opinions on that. Casey and Billy has a theory. What are we talking about? He looks like old TVS. TVS, he looks like old Max Headroom. All right, let's get to Prigozhin, okay? But that was cool. Let me find out. Fox might have did something all right, All right. Our hero deeply committed himself to war. War means death. Death eventually comes for us all. Rest in peace. So this is about Yevgeny Prigozhin. Hold on. So trigger warning. I don't think you'll see this plane hit the ground, but this is supposed to be the plane that Yevgeny Prigozhin was in when it crashed, and the reports are that he did in fact die. Let's read this gentleman who's the Patriot Voice. Let's read his post on it. Here's a video of the jet that Prigozhin and his crew was supposedly on as it plummeted to the earth. Here's the kicker. There were two jets flying the same time that belonged to Prigozhin. One has safely landed on its trip to St. Petersburg from Moscow. We are being told that the one that crashed had Prigozhin on board. But did it really? Hard to say with the king of psyops. So yeah, I heard about that too. Listed amongst the supposed dead. Or is he faking his death again, like he has in the past? What do you think? I don't think he's faking his death. I don't think he's faking his death. I think that this definitely happened to him. Let me see. Civil War defense news, U.S. Civil Defense News update. Yevgeny Prigozhin, the founder and leader of Wagner, is now confirmed to have been killed. So they confirmed that he's been killed. All right. Right now, Putin is at the BRICS summit. I knew August was going to start to get hot because the BRICS summit is now. The BRICS summit, they're talking about, yes, Billy, it does look like a shoot down to me, so we're going to get into that. The BRICS summit right now is they're talking about, you know, what they're going to use as far as money, for trade, because they don't want to use the US dollar anymore, because sadly the US dollar comes with it comes with promises to do evil things, okay? To do things that are not a part of your of who you are, right? So and okay. Let me see. If you remember, but 2 months ago to the day, I came on War Room and said that Prigozhin is headed for Moscow and will get a missile aimed right in his direction. Wow. Wow. So, all right. Let me pull up the BRICS summit. So, yeah, Putin is at the BRICS summit right now. So, people, hold on. My computer is like getting a little exhausted, but it's all good. We're going to go for like another 10 minutes because we're going to wrap this up. Breaking. All right, bet. Hold on. So this is DD Geopolitics. If you guys are on Twitter, follow DD Geopolitics because she's very, very well versed. The girl's smart. I mean, very smart. Everything she says, she's on point with her reporting on geopolitical events. And, you know, when I go on the spaces, she's there. So I like to talk to her there too. Breaking news: Argentina, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates will become the new members, Saudi Arabia, of BRICS, writes the UOL portal, citing the draft final document of the summit. The bloc now includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. A draft of the final summit, obtained by UOL and exclusively revealed, indicates that the names have already been defined. The BRICS initial project of having Indonesia eventually had to be reviewed after the Asian country declared it was not in political condition at this time. God, I don't know what be on Twitter sometimes. So you hear that, right? Saudi Arabia. That's where we beg Saudi Arabia for oil. Thank you, Bozette, for coming through. Stay strapped. Get clap. Gotta run. Yeah. So, you know, this is happening. BRICS has been a thought since 2001. The Biden administration emboldened them to fast track everything that they were doing. Once they pick their monetary, how they're going to trade the oil and all, and remove the petrodollar basically from us, we effectively go into a super inflation. I don't know how long it will take. It's not something that's supposed to happen right away. Like they might say, like, here's the currency, but it would more take effect next year. Yeah, de-dollarization is happening. And I'm not that excited about it, but at the same time, I know that you know, it's happening. I know the inevitability of it, and we have to prepare. Putin talking at the BRICS summit sums up the purpose of Russia's SMO in Ukraine in one sense: special military operations. By the way, our actions in Ukraine are dictated by only one thing: to put an end to the war that was unleashed by the West and its satellites against people living in the Donbass. And this is true. And next week, I have a few lives coming up. I'm going to talk about Ruby Ridge, Waco, the real story about, you know, the Donbass and there was the coup situation and what happened in Ukraine in 2014. Was it 2014? Yes. And the history about this war and why we are here. And America is fighting this war. I also want to do a live on Colonel Douglas McGregor's interview that he did with Tucker Carlson. In fact, that interview was actually better than the Trump one. I might actually do that live tomorrow. Colonel Douglas McGregor sat down with, let me just pull up Tucker Carlson. Colonel Douglas McGregor sat down with Tucker. This might be my longest live ever. It was supposed to be just like 45 minutes. Then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep going because like I just feel like I'm just chit chatting with y'all and I'm like having a good time. Wow. He sat down with Colonel Douglas McGregor. I'm just looking at the Viktor Orban thing. Episode 18, To the Abyss. Like I'm just gonna let you hear just a little bit.
So that's why this defense right now looks a lot like World War I, because anybody who moves is identified and killed. The only limitation on your ability to target and destroy the enemy is ammunition. The Russians, of course, have no shortages whatsoever. You recall at the beginning of this, we have all these shortages, right? The Russians can't keep up with missiles. The Russians can't keep up with shells. Well, they have multiple manufacturing facilities operating 7 days a week at 24 hours a day. We have no surge capacity in the United States.
We certainly don't.
It would take us many, many months to come up to that kind of standard where we could actually compete in high-end conventional warfare. And that's why people like me and others worry that if we get into a confrontation, that we cannot win because the world has changed, warfare has changed, integrated air defenses will knock virtually everything that flies out of the sky.
So I'm going to stream this interview tomorrow live, somewhere around the 7 o'clock hour. I don't want to be too late with it because we need to listen to this whole interview. Colonel Douglas McGregor has served his country, but he's not blindly, quote, patriotic. And what's patriotic anymore with these generals? Patriotic is making money for Raytheon and they make millions off of selling weapons or whatever, and then totally destroying our infrastructure. But anyway, and then causing the price of eggs to go up to $7 and more suffering, right? But the fact is, I do believe in having a strong defense system. I'm not dumb. I'm not sitting here saying we all gonna frock around in on the hills and pick flowers and all that. No, you have to have a strong defense system. We don't have that right now. We have a bunch of old systems too. He talks about this in this video, in this interview. He gets really into what's going on in Russia, what's going on with America, and what's happening next. And the man also says, he's like, listen, I served in the army. I just keep it real. He's like, I've killed people. I don't have no problem with it. I was like, wow, okay. But when it comes to Prigozhin, here's my theory. Sadly, I'm so jaded with this country's establishment and their lack of respect for anything else that's not them, right? They look down on every other country, right? And we're not who we used to be. The minute I saw that plane going down, my first thing was, okay, so this is all allegedly, in my opinion. My first thing was, what do we have to do with it? As in, why did we do that? Yes, because I know how we roll. My theory is Prigozhin tried to have a mutiny in Moscow, called himself, I don't know what he was doing, talking about he was going to overthrow. He never said Putin, though. He was going for the generals in Russia, and he was trying to cause a straight chaos. And as much as he wanted to cause the chaos, the people in the streets were like, well, we're not paying attention to that. Like, we're not. The people in Russia are annoyed with Putin for how long it's taken to bring this war to an end, but they're not. They back him up. They back up Mother Russia. That's what they call it, right? So, and this is just the reality. Feel how you want about Russians or whatever, but the truth lands where it falls. It's just that simple, right? So, and then he had this coup, and then all of a sudden, it wasn't even a coup. It was just a bunch of flailing around. I don't know what that was. And then it was over, right? So we thought. And so he went to Belarus. The president over there was like, you know what? You can come over here. Like, let's let things cool down. And things started to cool down. And then all of a sudden, his plane went down. My theory, given to me by my brother, who reminded me of all of this, there was rumors floating around that Prigozhin was paid by U.S. operatives of whatever, shadow, source, whatever. And he didn't go through what he was supposed to go through with. And I believe that they ended him. Like, oh, you didn't do it. You took the money, you ran. Well, that's it. That's my belief. You don't have to agree at all. And you know, that's what I think happened personally. I'll never know, but I can make an assessment. So, you know, so wait, so we are wrapping up, and I think we did pretty. Look at me. I think this is my longest live ever. It's only been an hour and 53 minutes. Like, okay, what did I have in our good eye, Casey? That's a great point from that clip. Thanks. Well, the clip that you shared, Billy. Is that what you're talking about? Because somebody just answer me real quick, please, if you can. But yeah. So you know, so that's what's going on. The point is, right now, it's hot everywhere. We have our troops in Syria. I remember Matt Gaetz was trying to put out legislation like calling for a vote. We need to remove our troops from Syria. They are sitting ducks, and boy, are they. You know, boy, are they. But they're still there. And we sent, last month, we sent, I think, another 2,500 troops, if I'm not mistaken, 2,000 to 2,500 troops to Syria to help them out to defeat ISIS, you know, near the oil rigs, you know, where the oil is. That's where we went and we helped them out, you know, to defeat ISIS near the oil. And the Syrian president and Russia's leader and Iran, they're like, these Americans have to go. So the clip, yes, ma'am, that clip of McGregor. What clip? The one that I just showed with McGregor? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I hate that. You have an 8-hour tank. Yes, he goes into it. I'm sorry, Billy. I'm sorry. Please, thank you. Sorry for my slowness. I've been at work all day. He goes into it and he explains it. He explains it deeply. Yo, man, when he starts talking about all of that, what you said, it's so intricate. He's so good, and he keeps going, and he's hitting all the points. Colonel Douglas McGregor was on the Trump administration towards the last 3 months or 2 months of Trump's administration, and he was the one trying to get troops back home too. They kept trying to stop. They kept trying to stop him from doing it. Like, who's the other generals? Now, I remember Trump's last month of his presidency in 2020, it was somewhere around November. He fired a lot of people in the Pentagon, and they wrote articles on him and said that he lost his mind. And he was mad because he lost the elections and he blamed it on them. And some DeSantis supporters are going to repost that. And I don't mean to say some DeSantis, because they're not all like that, right? But they reposted, like, you see, Trump went crazy, he lost the thing, and he started just firing people. No, he fired those generals in the Pentagon because they lied to him when he said, I wanted to get troops out of Syria. Let's say he said, I wanted to get 100 troops out of Syria. They were like, well, we only have 20. How are you going to do that? And then boom, right? Then he found out, and then they went on into another interview. They laughed about it, like, yeah, we lied to him often about that. So he was like, you got to go. And I never forget it, because the mainstream, and by this point, I was on point. I you know what I mean? I was paying attention to all of the press briefings, everything. And MSDNC, whatever the hell, they were like, Trump's lost his mind. He's mad. He's mad that he lost the elections, and all of a sudden he's firing people in the Pentagon for no reason. It's always for no reason. He even fired a lot of people from the CDC. A lot of people forget a lot of this stuff. During the pandemic, I think he fired 31 people from the CDC. He probably figured out that they were corrupt. He was trying to take down that agency. Oh, he's flouchy. I know. But did a lot of things, man. That second term was gonna be fired. So yeah, but Colonel Douglas McGregor was working with him. So these are the kind of people, for all of what we say that Trump brings bad people around him, there are some great people around him too. Colonel Douglas McGregor was one of them. General Flynn would have been one of them if Mike Pence didn't get in the way. Cash Patel is another great one. You know, he's had great people around him as well. Cindy says my brain is ready to explode with info. I know. I'm wrapping it up, but that's my theory though on Prigozhin. And Trump is right. Even in that long, boring interview that he did, he said if I was president, we wouldn't be in this position. He's absolutely right. For many times they told me that Trump was going to bring on World War III. Never did. And now I'm looking at, we have an extended military with a bunch of machines from 1980 something. This is how Colonel Douglas McGregor explains it. So we'll watch that tomorrow at 7. That's what we'll do. You guys, thank you so much. That was aimed at Billy. Yeah, I'm over here. I'm like, that's aimed at, I'm thinking like, yeah, I know I am talking a lot because I'm exhausted. It's like I've been at work all day and everything. I was like, I gotta come on with the squad and we're gonna watch this Trump interview. It's gonna be litty. And he didn't even answer the questions I wanted to ask. Like, this is I know a couple of people who are going to roast Tucker about this tomorrow, and they have every right to. It was very softball. Like, just don't have him on. You know, like, I don't know. That was just not fun. But yes. All right. So we're going to end this live. I thank everybody who came through, who hung out. It was a good time. You guys make me like so happy to be here. So, so everybody have a wonderful night. And in the name of God, you know, we'll see each other tomorrow at 7 so we can watch the Colonel Douglas McGregor interview and really get into this Russian war. All right. And until then, I'll see you at the next video. Bye.